All right, Soda City Comic Con, how are we doing? How many of you were in here for the Peter Cullen panel just a little while ago? Wasn't that amazing? What? Oh my gosh, I can die happy now, that's for sure. Hey, I'm going to enjoy this next panel very much. You guys know him from the Star Wars franchise. We're going to talk about Star Wars. We're going to talk about everything in this man's career. And somehow we have to do it in 30 minutes, right? It's going to be a tough challenge, but I think we're up for it. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me out. Give me a long round of applause for Mr. Sam Witwer.
How's it going?
Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you.
Hey, yesterday's panel was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it
was crazy. That was nuts.
Anyone in here for that panel yesterday? Yeah, a lot of back and forth. But this is going to focus on you, Sam. You're the man of the hour.
Oh, no.
Except this isn't going to be a roast. We won't have to worry about any of that, unless you want it to be.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. Yeah.
No.
So we'll have some fun here. But before we dive into Star Wars, let's talk about you. Get comfy here and talk about you. How did it all start for you? I know, loaded question, right? But the acting bug?
Luck. Just basically was coerced into auditioning for Juilliard, and then I got in. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm training to be an actor. And that's that.
Juilliard. I mean, that's prestigious, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did something even pretty prestigious there. Yeah. I did the accelerated course where you go for 2 years and then you get kicked out. And that was cool. The
old boot out the door, bye-bye, see you later.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, as you can see, it's clearly hurt you quite a bit.
Badly.
Quite a bit,
yeah.
right? Yeah. You got that. Let's talk about your humble beginnings, like your first big break. In doing my research, am a slut here for IMDb. I know. Sorry, young kids in the crowd. But your first role, if IMDb is to be believed, is an appearance on the show ER.
Was that the first one?
Either that or Airless.
I thought it was Jag.
Was it Jag?
I thought it was. I said, how's it going, Vic? That's it.
That's it?
Still remember my lines.
You still picking up residuals from that one?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they're like 25. No, they're like 3 cents.
3 cents now.
But, you can do a lot with 3 cents.
But gosh, obviously, Star Wars, arguably right now what you're known for the most. But to start off on ER, like,
I thought that
or
was
at least in the
after
early
Jag,
days,
but
like,
yeah, it was
but
like
still,
Jag
they land
and then
ER.
And I had a few lines there. I called Sally Field a name. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it in front of the children. But yeah.
That's incredible. You go on to do other shows like Star Trek Enterprise. Sloth number 3. How does Sloth number 3 come? You remember that one from Star Trek Enterprise?
I do. Yes. I was covered in plastic. It was great.
I mean, was that just like a happenstance? Hey, we need you, or was
I'm
it
a Star Trek guy, so I wanted to be on the show. So I auditioned. I did a terrible job. And then I walked into the art department because I knew some of the people who were working on the art department. Then I saw a picture of what the character was going to look like. I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. So then I went back to the audition, asked them to see me again, which they were kind enough to do, and then I didn't suck as much, and then I got the role.
Wow.
So that was fun. But yeah, like drinking your lunch through a straw because you have all this junk all over your face.
Right.
I don't know how those guys do it, like Michael Dorn and Armin Shimmerman and those guys, like being covered in plastic. Nuts. Crazy.
I feel like the makeup has come a long way, since Next Generation came out. I'm sure, by that time since Deep Space Nine, but even then, like that's remarkable. It's not often you find a Star Wars guy here that's a big fan of just Star Trek, right? There's always seems to be that
trying to heal the wounds between our two peoples.
Yes. And you're admirable for that. Do you have a favorite Star Trek franchise? Original, next gen, or anything?
All of it, but I started with the original. Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and, all those folks. I think I was aware of Star Trek coming up, but then when I saw Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, who's seen The Voyage Home? Who's seen Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home? Okay, yep. Here's my ask of you guys. You ready? Just watch that movie. Or Wrath of Khan. or both. Like, those are really charming, incredible films. And for me, when I was 12, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. What else have these guys done? And it turns out quite a bit. So it was great. That's how I became a big Star Trek fan, was Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, which is a really fun movie. Really fun. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Yeah, if I have one request of all of you folks, it's go watch either Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home or Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Or, hell, watch Star Trek II, then Star Trek III, then Star Trek IV, and then you can thank me later. Because it's all part of one story. It's all serialized. One leads to the next, leads to the next. It's cool.
So it's not like starting with episode 4, going back to episode 1, and, you know, like how you would find in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, we were going to start with episode 36, but it turns out the Fox leadership didn't like that so much. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
They were still getting over the idea of a dog as the co-pilot.
Speaking of sci-fi, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Woo! What was that like?
Cool.
Yeah?
It was cool. Yeah.
How did that fall into your lap?
We ad-libbed a lot. I think I got that role because I was the only one who was pronouncing Caprica right, basically. So, yeah. Because I had seen the show. So, you know, there was a bunch of actors going in and, you know, I know you had to leave your ECO back on Caprica. And I was like, Caprica, guys. It's Caprica. So.
So from your humble beginnings in, we'll say, other science fiction now to Star Wars, coming up into the full grand scheme of things, I want to kind of touch back on that just a little bit for those that didn't have the fortune of being here yesterday. How did I mean, obviously, you've been a big Star Wars fan pretty much your entire life, right?
Yeah.
And so how did that opportunity come up for you to get involved?
Well, LucasArts was doing this project. It was, at the time, it was called Star Wars 07. And it was about Darth Vader's secret apprentice. And my buddy David Collins, they created this artwork of who the character was going to be. And it looked a good deal like me. It didn't look exactly like me, but it was the type of guy that I was. And my head was kind of shaved at the time, and he had that. So David Collins, sweetheart that he is, smuggled my headshot into the pile to be considered for auditions. And it was a pretty easy sell once you saw if you saw my headshot, it was Starkiller. Just may as well have had the lightsabers and the scars and everything. But yeah, and then I got an audition, and then that's when being a Star Wars nerd helped me, because I was just nerding out left and right, you know, with these folks. And it was this moment where there were few scenes we were going through, and I said, well, how do you want me to play these scenes? You could play them 50 different ways. They're like, all right, well, let's do it 50 different ways. I'm like, oh. So I was in there for like 50 minutes doing these scenes. And there was this one scene where he's assembling the lightsaber with the Force, and he's supposed to be meditating while he's doing that. And I played the scene different every time, but at the beginning of the scene when he's meditating, I was really tense, like this. And the director's like, you know, Sam, I got to ask you, we've been doing the scene different, but he's meditating. Why are you all tense? He's meditating, you know? And you're just like doing like this. Why? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know that Darth Vader would have taught this guy how to do that. He would teach him to do this. This is what he thinks meditation is. Because Vader would want to keep this guy on edge all the time. The Sith would not have taught him to find inner peace. You know, so I think Starkiller is actually taking those pieces and trying to force them together in the way that he wants it, rather than letting it happen. And when I said that, I saw a bunch of Lucasfilm people behind the glass go, which I think is translation for nerd. Oh my God. But I was told that was when I got the role, because they're like, oh, he's already a Sith, so.
That easy. Let's go back to a series called Being Human.
Yeah.
What a great show that was. Tell us about that, how that came into your lap, into the fold.
Well, I guess I just auditioned for that. What was fun, yeah, there was a situation where I'd done a show called Smallville, and I was playing this character.
You remember Smallville? Anyone? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was playing this character, Davis Bloome, who little did he know he was Doomsday, and he was destined to kill Superman. And he was kind of a monster, but he didn't want to be a monster. And then when they were casting for Being Human, it was the same casting director. So apparently they went through, like, as I was told, like 200 folks, and they could not find this role. And the casting director, I think, out of desperation, was like, well, you know what? I know a guy who does this kind of thing. I don't know why I wasn't in the earlier auditions. Maybe she didn't like me. But eventually, I was auditioned for it. And what was fun, you know what was fun about that?
Yeah.
Is they told me I had the role before they gave me the role. So the audition process went from, because auditions, you go in and you do the scene, and then you go home, and then you go in, you do the scene. It's a very nerve-wracking process. You might go in on several different days for this one role, and if like you get nervous or you lose focus or whatever, and they're always awkward, they're always weird, and you're reading with different people, and you might just blow it, right? And that'll hurt your chances of getting the role. But what helped my chances was a friend of one of their producers gave us intel that they really were over a barrel, or they didn't necessarily have any other ideas but me. So then I started getting more cocky. And then eventually, the director was like, look, you know it's going to be you, right? I'm like, cool. So the rest of the audition process for me was like, all right, whatever, man. That's, you know, so I was just kind of relaxed through the audition in a way that was not normal for auditions. So that was cool.
Oh, that is really cool.
You know, I just remember there was this moment where they were like auditioning all the different guys for me, and going through, and you were supposed to audition and then go talk to the director for notes. And then they're going to bring you in again. And so I had auditioned, and then I went off to talk to the director for notes. He's like, okay, how was your weekend, man? Like, what's going on? You know, and that was his notes. He's like, yeah, cool, yeah, cool. Anyway, you want to go back and just do the same thing you did. You want to go back in? You know, and it was like, wow, this is nice. This feels good for a change. This is nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to make sure we leave time for more Q&A from the audience, if you're all right with that.
Sure.
All right. So let's do that. If you have a question for our good friend, Sam Witwer here, we will call on you. Our wonderful production assistant, Lauren, is, again, she's getting her steps in this weekend.
Yeah,
she's just sprinting around, doing a great job here. Yes, ma'am, your question.
Hi, so I had 2 Being Human questions, because I'm a big fan. Number 1, what was your favorite season to film? And number 2, I got to meet Aidan Turner, who plays your character in the BBC version. Have you got to meet any of that cast or seen the show?
I've seen their entire show. I've not met any of their cast. I had nice correspondence with the creator, you know, Toby Woodhouse, and so I emailed with him and had nice conversations with him. Was that the question? No? Is the answer no? What was it? No.
What did you ask me?
Oh, favorite
season yeah.
shoot. Well, that's a hard one, because 1 was really special. 3 and 4 were like kind of off the wall in a fun way on the set. 2 was hard to shoot. 3 and 4. 3, it was just like we felt like, okay, we're really now nailing what the show is, right? 4 was, okay, now we're just swinging for the fences and doing weird, wacky, crazy stuff. I mean, how can you dislike your job when, you know, you're showing up on the set and you have to break through a wall and go, oh yeah, you know, like, that was great. I loved that stuff. So we had such a great time, and we were just stuck on a set 16 to 18 hours a day, and it was exhausting, but everyone around you was hilarious. So you were just laughing and out of your mind tired and laughing the whole time. I just saw Sam Huntington, and we were reminiscing about all of this and being like, you know, we knew how good we had it back then, but I think we didn't know how good we had it. You know, like, it was fantastic doing that show. Loved doing that show.
That's got to be a good part too, you know, just lifelong memories with, you know, with some of these series and like Friends and everything else. I mean, it's a little business, yes, but
when you're that exhausted on a set, you actually, some part of my brain remembers all of those events as having happened. I'm like, oh yeah, when that ghost showed up and we had to kill that dude, that was crazy. But it never happened, you know. Like, we were just, but we were so into the show that it was, you know, we were submerged in our characters. It was cool.
That's the best way to be. Next question is right over here in the along the center.
I had a Siege of Mandalore question, and it was So obviously Maul's back in those last episodes of the Clone Wars, and I was just wondering either if you had any insight or if you had any theories as to why he goes back to that like double-bladed style of lightsaber after he had just had the single blade for so long, or maybe how he came to construct it or get that other half.
Yeah, because he lost one half of his lightsaber in the fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, which, by the way, they started at that, guys. Just walking on the hall, and then dudes are taking their robes off and giving me the eyes, locking snakes with me, and I'm like, okay, sure. And then I had to kill one of them, and we know what else happened. We're not going to talk about it, but basically, yeah, I think he just likes that style. He likes that option, you know. So he constructed the missing half of that lightsaber, and I think the trick is finding the Kyber crystal. That's the hard part. So we don't know whose crystal that was or whom he took it from. But I promise you, he did not ask nicely. So.
We'll go to this side of the room. Lauren's like, what do I do? Yeah, it's all good. Yes.
Hi. This is another Darth Maul question. We don't get a lot of personality from Darth Maul just from the Phantom of the Menace movie. You're the one that had more lines than anyone has ever portrayed him. How did you figure out his personality and his story and how to play him just from what little is given to you in the movie?
So his story came from George, right? And Dave Filoni, being as knowledgeable as he is about how people work in this to make stories, he provided me with all of the story material they had up until that point. So before I recorded anything, me and Dave were having these multi-hour conversations about who Darth Maul is or who he should be. What would it be like? Because there was a perception that he was this strong, silent type, like he was this hitman who never said anything, and every now and then he'd say, "Yes, my master," and that's it. And me and Dave, the first thing we talked about was like, well, that's not all there is to the guy. In fact, this guy's going to have a lot to say because he's he's brilliant. This guy's really smart. And how do we know he's really smart? Because he's Palpatine's apprentice. Palpatine wouldn't be like, "I need to find someone who does cool flips." You're like, well, what about smart stuff? Nah, just the flips, basically. He'd have to find a guy who could do everything really, really well and train him. So we're like, this guy would be formidable strategically, tactically. He'd be manipulative. He'd have a sense of humor. We talked about all these things. And Dave would throw in things like, I think there's an element of Gollum there in terms of his self-obsession. This circular obsession, his ring-like obsession with himself. I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll throw some of that in there. And I'm like, I think he's a little Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. Oh, yeah, no, totally. There was a mystery to that character. What was he seeing? And so we were throwing that in there. And then one thing that we both immediately agreed on is like, also Khan, man. Khan. We're going to steal a lot from Khan Noonien Singh. Have I mentioned that there's this movie called Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan? If you want to know a main ingredient of the Maul character, watch Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Like, we definitely took a lot of inspiration from that extraordinary performance from Ricardo Montalban. But in the meantime, I was just practicing the tone poem from Phantom Menace. The fear attracts the fearful. That whole thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the beginning building block of his voice. But let's assume that we haven't heard his voice in all of the different emotional states that he would be in. Darth Vader sounds different in A New Hope than he sounds in The Empire Strikes Back. Like James Earl Jones, he goes to different places and his voice goes with it. So start with the Peter Serafinowicz voice and then spin it off from there. That was what I was doing.
You ever get to meet James Earl Jones?
Did I what?
Did you ever get to meet James Earl Jones?
Meet him? No, I never met him directly. Yeah. I think I'll just leave it there. No, because I've had some tangential contact, but it's not appropriate to talk about right now.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
Totally understand. With that, we'll move on to our next question. We'll go to this side of the room. Yes.
What are your thoughts on the dark side ending of Force Unleashed 1?
I thought it was pretty scary because it really shows, like, this isn't a good thing, This is not a good thing. The people on the dark side, especially the ones locked behind masks or grievously wounded, are not having the best time. But they're going to keep on keeping on, because if they die, then to them, the most important person in the universe dies. And they're obsessed with themselves. So they can't allow that to happen, no matter what. Because if you die, you can't get more stuff. You can't manipulate more people, and you can't do, you know what I mean? Whereas Jedi are like, it's not about me, it's okay. When I go, it's all right, you know? The Sith are like, no, never, never. Which I think is part of the whole Force Ghost thing, you know? Because if you live a good life, once you're gone, if you've done good things for people, they want to think about you when you're gone. And they think kindly of you, and you come up in their thoughts quite often, so you are always with them. But if you don't do good things, it's good riddance, man. No one wants to think about you once you're gone. Thus, the Sith are terrified of death. They can't allow that to happen.
What is your, just in doing everything Star Wars, do you have a favorite day maybe on set that stands out to you? Or are there, I know that's a loaded question too, but like one that just like, by and large, above the rest, man, this was the greatest time I've had working.
All of it, but I think that, all of it, really.
Okay.
Seriously. But you know, I think one day that made me feel really good, especially since Clone Wars were really my first pure voice acting gigs. Mm-hmm. And here I am on set with Dave and a whole bunch of people behind the glass, and I'm in the booth, and I have to do the beginnings of Darth Maul with his spider legs and stuff. And in the script, it didn't say, it said he was mumbling and saying all kinds of crazy stuff, said the script. But the script never said what he was going to say. Like, it didn't say anything. Didn't say what he was saying. So I was like, I guess I'm going to have to come up with that. So I wrote a whole passage of crazy stuff that made sense to me, would make sense to Maul, you know, and I could go into what it is, but it's not that important. Anyway, if you guys remember when he's got the spider legs, he's quite insane. And so they're going to hear Darth Maul for the first time. Okay, here we go. And it's going to be this crazy stuff, and it's going to be crying and laughing and screaming. And so I did all of that, ending with the words, revenge. I must have revenge. And then they cut, and then it was just silent. And I'm standing there in front of a microphone, and there's a bunch of people behind the glass, and no one's saying anything. And I'm like, oh no, oh God, I think I just ruined Darth Maul. I think thank you all for coming. We've just ruined an iconic Star Wars character. Good job, everyone, great job. You know? So I was terrified, and then the silence just keeps going, and then they're all talking. I'm like, oh no, they're now talking about how do we get this guy to not do what he just did, right? That's what he prepared, and we're in trouble now, you know? And they kept talking. I'm just standing there like, okay, this is really awkward. It's been like 45 seconds, guys. What's going on? And eventually, Dave saw that I was just standing there, and he hits the talkback button. He goes, oh, sorry, Sam, sorry. We are just having a discussion about my infinite wisdom in handing you this role. I'm like, oh! Well, that's different. That's cool, you know? So that was when I thought, oh, we might actually get away with this Darth Maul thing, maybe. So
the biggest relief, right? Because, yeah, I can imagine just being in the booth. That's, you know, whether it's this, any other series, like when you've got a bunch of people in the back just kind of talking and whispering, or, you know, even when you can't hear it, it's got to be nerve-wracking.
It's scary.
Yeah. I guess jumping off of that, then we'll get to our next question. Do you prefer when you're doing voiceover stuff to work, you know, alone, to be secluded in those kind of areas, or would you rather
work with other people?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Clancy Brown was fantastic. Mm-hmm. The Kurgan, he was awesome. No, you're always best when you're working with other people. You're far better when you're working with other people. So,
gotcha. We'll take another question from the crowd. There's Lauren. There goes Lauren, and Lauren's going back to the back. Yes, sir.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little late coming in here, so I'm not sure if this has been asked.
You still have to pay full price. That's all right, go ahead.
From my understanding, you also played Starkiller as well. So who would you say is probably your favorite out of the two Star Wars characters you played, Darth Maul or Starkiller?
I could never choose between those two, and I will not allow you to pit them against each other. This is not cool. You do not do this. You know, if Maul and Starkiller ever fought, I am the winner. I win. You cannot.
You get paid double for that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I get paid double. I win big time, and you lose, my friend. No. I just love them both. I love them both. I mean, we were thinking about, with Starkiller, we were thinking about Maul a lot because we were portraying a Sith apprentice. So we were thinking about what that was like. And Starkiller led to them hiring me for the Son of Mortis over at Clone Wars. And the Son of Mortis made Dave think that I should play Darth Maul. So if it wasn't for Starkiller, I'm not with you fine folks today, you know?
Absolutely. We'll take another question. I think Lauren's in the back. There she is. Okay. How are your eyes adjusting up here with these lights?
It's great. No, it's fine. It's good.
The tan is wonderful, I'll tell you. All right, we'll go right up here in the front row. Yes.
Hi, I was wondering if there was a character that you've ever wanted to play, as well as if there was any piece of literature or media whose story you wanted to see come to life.
I was going to say no, I can't think of any character, because generally I can't. But when you said literature, I was like, well, I'd love to play Corwin in the Amber series. That would be great. Ooh. The Roger Zelazny Amber books. I don't know how many of you guys have read those, but they're fantastic and very interesting, and that would be an incredible mini-series, limited series type thing. Cool character. I like that character, Corwin. So I guess I have one. It would be Corwin, I suppose.
You have, next to you, if it's okay to point this out,
Yeah.
you have a vinyl up here.
Yeah.
Crash Tone albums. Tell us a little bit about your musical endeavors, sir.
I'm going to give this away right now to anyone who
Ooh.
can finish a Star Wars quote, and you have to do it in the voice, okay? So anyone who collects vinyl, pay close attention, because here we go. You ready? I need you to finish this quote for a vinyl with artwork by Amy Beth Christensen, who designed Starkiller. This is the same lady who designed Starkiller. Are you ready? You ready? Okay.
Do what must be done, Lord Vader. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy. Only then will you be strong enough with the dark side, too.
Any hands?
Who got it?
Wait. Who?
Over on this side. Who's got it between the two?
I see someone over there raising your hand.
All the way over here on the right?
Yeah.
Save the ones you love.
Negative. Damn. What do you got? What do you got?
Right.
Oh, this
not
is good.
over yet.
Now it's getting competitive. It's getting nasty.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
To save Padme.
Yes!
Yay!
Yes! Get over here. This is yours. You had the right spirit, but can I tell you why it's wrong? Because the Sith don't go,
Save the ones you love the most. Give me a hug, Lord Vader. Oh, the ones you smooch at night when you're cuddling up with your teddy bear, Lord Vader.
no, they're like, save Padme. Who cares? Padme. She's fine.
I'm afraid in your anger, you killed her.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Good job. Congratulations. Give a round of applause. Yeah.
Nice work. The sentiment was right, though. I appreciate that you want to make the Sith nicer than they are. I appreciate you.
Trying to change the
Because there's a
universe.
lot of anti-Sith propaganda out there, and I'm not cool with it.
Yeah. What's your name, ma'am? Isabel.
Isabel.
Congratulations,
Nice.
Isabel. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to start to wind things down here, but before we do, what projects you got in the hopper that you'd like to talk about?
Well, there's stuff coming, and I'm not going to tell you guys anything, but it's cool. I think you guys will like some of it. It's cool. The other stuff you're going to hate. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, hopefully you guys like all of it. I like it. I'm working on stuff that I like right now, so that's good. And that's also cool because sometimes you do work on stuff that you're like, I do not like this, but this stuff I do like. So anyway.
Before we wrap up, can you, piggybacking off of yesterday, give us some more Arnold?
You want me to do Arnold?
A little more Arnold.
Okay, you idiot. Let's do it. Yeah, all right. Yeah, because
Arnold Schwarzenegger is an interesting guy, right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, he shows up with this dialect and like, oh God, two things, man. You gotta like, I think it was it Mark Hamill who gave him some advice? He goes, hey, listen, here's some advice for you coming up in Hollywood. You gotta lose the accent and change the name, change the last name. And he does neither,
Yeah, great. Yeah, idiot. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm going to keep the accent and I'm going to keep the Schwarzenegger. I'm going to keep that name. And you wait when you see it. Wait when you see it. It's going to be great.
Sam Witwer, everybody. Thanks so much, Sam. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up at 2:45 for fans of performance capture, we've got a very entertaining panel. Hope you'll stick around for that. That'll be coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.